The drink, we're clicking to the environment. We're clicking to the environment. We're drinking to the environment. Yes.
What's going on, Sarah Mack? How are you?
Life's good, man. Life is good.
Well, first off, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the show. It really means a lot to me.
I'm really glad to be here. I'm glad you asked me back.
Well, we just had such an amazing time last time. I had to do a little reunion show.
Please.
Well, without any further ado, cheers to the drink and to
Cheers.
Sarah Mack for being on the show. All right. So, for those that don't know you, I know that you are now you've been for a little bit the director of the Lesniak Institute, and you've also become part of your land use board and environmental commission. So I just want you to introduce yourself a little bit more if you would like to, build off what I just said, and just for everyone that does not know you that well.
All right. Well, the director of the Lesniak Institute, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's a nonprofit organization. We build capacity for advocacy. So basically, we teach people how the legislative process works and how to make changes in that process. So in my capacity as a land use board member, I get to review and comment and vote on various applicants who want to develop within my town of Roselle Park. So we see a lot of applicants for like small businesses, apartment complexes, things of that nature. And then, like you said, I'm also a environmental commission member for Roselle Park. And in my capacity as a commission member, I get to come up with cool ideas for making Roselle Park a little greener, a little bit more sustainable. And I also get to talk with the community about their concerns and help implement them. Yeah.
That is awesome.
I like to keep myself busy.
A little bit. I definitely agree with that. No, that is awesome. So like, how long have you been the director of the Lesniak Institute, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so I'm going on 3 years now, which is crazy. Nice. I started in 2018 and here we are in 2021.
That is awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, it has definitely been a journey. When I started, I didn't start as the director. I did start as Senator Lesniak's assistant. And I assisted him in forming the Lesniak Institute, and it kind of naturally progressed to the point where I became the director. And I like to say that most of the time I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but no, seriously, but I figured it out along the way, and I'm really thankful to have an amazing support system, both from Senator Lesniak and the connections I've built at Kean University to kind of help me to figure it out as it goes along. But we've done incredible things in the past 3 years. I can't even imagine that I would have been able to do what we've done.
That is sick. I'm very happy for you that you've been there this long. Wait, so then you've been pretty much there since day one. Like you helped develop the whole thing. So you're like an OG of it now.
Yeah, I'm an OG, that's right. Yeah, it started in January of 2018. That's kind of when the paperwork came together to form the Lesniak Institute. But its first event wasn't until I actually started. So, you know, I like to say that I've been there since the beginning.
That is awesome. So like
Yeah.
with that, so like let's just backtrack a little bit real quick. So
Okay.
you, like, me and you met through Kane, doing everything for, you know, this SES program. But like, how did Sarah Mack become such an environmental enthusiast and, like, you know, want to become green and all this kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know, I've always loved hiking. I've always loved being in nature, all of that stuff. But I wouldn't say that that's like what sealed the deal for me. Actually, when I was in college, in my first year and the beginning of my second year, I had no idea what I wanted to major in. I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, as you know, like I'm a huge nerd. Like I love books. I love learning. I love math. I love like all of the things that people are like, you know. And I love it. I love it so much. So I was like, well, what the heck am I going to major in? I love all this stuff. And you know, I had to dig deep into my core values and all of that. And at the end of the day, I really want to change the world. You know, and that's such a cliche thing to say, but honestly, like I really do want to make the world a better place. And as an undergraduate student, I was thinking like, okay, what major could I choose that can help me do this right now? So as I was going through all the different options, it seemed like the environmental option was kind of the way I should go because it definitely integrates math, it integrates science, it integrates English and psychology and like literally, you know, all of the different you know, majors in one with a focus on the environment, of course.
Right.
And there are so many issues that are plaguing this world that have everything to do with the environment, like water insecurity, like food insecurity, you know, and so much more. So I just decided that the best place for me to be to make the world a better place right here, right now, was in the environmental sciences.
Very cool.
That's how it happened.
Like, this is the way. Let's do it.
Yeah. I had a class with Dr. Shevitz, and what was it? It must have been just like intro to the environment or something like that. And she got me hooked. We were talking about her research on ethnobotany, about how she's able to work with indigenous communities within New Jersey, helping them remediate different contaminated sites with different species of plants. So it helps that population, the native population. It helps the ecosystem.
Okay, and, so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but real quick, can you define for those that don't know what ethnobotany is? Right.
So, you know, I guess piece it into the two words. Ethno meaning like ethnic, botany meaning like plant stuff, right? Okay. So ethnobotany, right, put them together and you're thinking about different ethnic, I don't know. I don't think this is the right question for me, but I would just like we're talking about you know, looking at botany through a lens of ethnicity, of people groups.
So like I guess essentially it's like looking at different plant species and making like planting them in a very responsible way. Is that?
Well, I mean, if you look at the research that Dr. Shevitz does, a lot of it studies the traditionally used type of plants for different purposes. So let's say that one native group like really depends on catgrass for whatever reason. they would integrate the cat grass into their strategies to like remediate the environment, because one, it's something that ethnicity or that people group is really used to, and two, it also provides an environmental service, right?
Right. Okay. All right. So then it's like pretty much like in one given area, like plant A is used to being with plant B, not like say plant D or E. So you put those two in a spot together to like help them kind of, help that area kind of vegetate and like grow. Is that somewhat more?
I don't think that's necessarily it. But honestly, I'm not the expert on this.
It's all right.
So I don't want to keep going down this rabbit hole.
It's all right. It's all good.
Dr. Shebitz would be better to ask this too.
It's totally cool. It's just a question though. But well, that's cool. So ethnobotany with Dr. Shebitz, that's really awesome. So what's called? I totally forgot where we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but it's all good. Yeah. So then let's backtrack a little bit. And so like you wanted to, really make the world a better place through environmental studies. So let's go through that. So let's go back through that way. So, and we were talking about, how you really got inspired by Dr. Shebitz. So, which she is definitely an inspirational educator for sure. Like doing the river cleanups at Keene University. That was utmost fun. And also I got to film it a little bit too. That was fun.
Nice. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
You filmed it 2017, I think.
Yeah, like beginning of 2017, late 2016, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that was the Earth Day river cleanup.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was Earth Week, and then we had all those stands for like whether it was VR or plant life or
yes,
a whole bunch of stuff.
Decorate your own succulent pots. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. That was a fun time. So what's it called? So like, have you? Real quick though, have you ever like gone back to Keene University in a while?
Yeah, so I actually have an office at Keene. My office is on the 6th floor of the STEM building.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, right across the road from the science building where we had most of our classes. I'm actually not on main campus as much as I'd like to be. But I've been there for a couple of different events, mostly held through the Human Rights Institute. So the Human Rights Institute has put on a couple of different programs that I've been able to attend. But honestly, through COVID, we really weren't on the campus too much anyway.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because the schools had to be like very strict with everything.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, I do remember you telling me about that. That's really cool though, like how your office is there. So like let's go into what kind of projects have you guys been doing with like the Lesniak Institute recently, or since you've been working there?
Well, the most recent project or event that we held was last month. We held a forum. It was called the Criminalization of Mental Health Treatment in Both. And we had this event to bring people together to talk about the importance of recognizing mental health in the criminal justice system. So there are so many cases where someone has committed because of their mental health illness, and then they're sent to jail where their mental illness will get worse. They might end up recommitting a crime, or the escalation could be worse. But what is actually better is if they get sent to treatment before that even happens, right? So we're talking about diversionary programs where a prosecutor would have the ability to recommend that a certain person be sent to treatment and then have their case reevaluated to see if they really do need to spend time in prison, or if the treatment was sufficient to like remediate their illness where they wouldn't commit this crime now.
And I'm sorry, I think you got cut off a little bit when you mentioned this, but what is this area of work or this project that you're working on? Like,
so it's called mental health diversion programs.
Okay.
And we're working on establishing legislation in the state of New Jersey, which would establish diversion programs statewide. So every county in New Jersey would have this diversionary program. It would be funded by the state of New Jersey to give every county ample resources that they might need.
Very cool.
And it would really give the prosecutors discretionary privilege to decide, should this person be sent for treatment, or, did their mental health illness have nothing to do with the crime they committed, and they should be seen as like a, in a normal case.
Interesting. So like, so with that, is there any kind of, I guess, therapy or like alternative, like kind of treatment if like, hey, like this, it, instead of going to like a mental health facility, is there like kind of like a alternative, like kind of therapeutic environmental kind of remedy or something like that, or that's what you guys are trying to figure out?
Well, instead of sending them straight to jail,
right,
the judge would permit them to either go to a hospital to get mental health treatment, or at least get evaluated.
Right.
And then it definitely relies heavily on partnerships. So partnerships with other nonprofit organizations who have their own paths of treatment. So every county will do it differently. Like, let's say Union County partners with an organization, I don't know. I can't make up a name of an organization, but every county, can have their own partnerships with their own nonprofit organizations as they so choose. But the important thing is that the state gives them the funding that they need in order to like support these programs. Because if the state's not funding it, these things aren't going to be seen through.
Right. No, yeah, definitely. So what other projects have you been working on besides this one?
Right. Well, if you want to talk about the environment, we've got two cool ones. So there is a specific piece of legislation. It is basically a bill that would establish incentives for companies that produce plastic to use a certain amount of post-consumer recycled content. And it would actually create some mandates as well. So this is really important because in New Jersey, at least, and I would imagine throughout the United States, we are in a recycling crisis. China has changed their regulations from accepting around 14% contaminated recyclables to now accepting 1% or less contamination. Like, that is a huge jump. And New Jersey does not have the systems that it needs in order to like clean the recyclables enough to send them over to China. So we're in a position where we're like, well, what do we do now? Right? Where do we send our recyclables now?
Right.
And having a bill like this that would incentivize companies to use post-consumer recycled content would create a market for recycling. And for too long, we have been paying, to recycle our stuff. Where if we look at this problem as a solution, it would leaps and bounds, right? Instead of saying like, wow, this is such a burden, we can look at recyclable content and see it as a feedstock, as a potential product to get money off of. We could sell our recyclables now for monetary gain because people now are mandated to use this recycled content. So this bill would really change the status quo as to how we deal with recyclables, how we view recyclables, and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely it would. I mean, like you said, like process on how we use post-consumed, and also just how the process would go, the life cycle would go, period. Like that's
Right.
huge. So I mean, so like what how far have you guys gotten so far with that?
That is a really good question. I believe, actually, let me not make a guess. I'm just gonna check in case it moved. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. And also, I don't know if there's like certain things that you can or can't talk about. So like, it's all good.
Yeah, no, this is, I am good to talk about this.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, so the bill to ban post-consumer and recycled content is S-2515. That's the Senate bill number. It's actually passed the Senate. So it's gone through its committee in the Senate. It has been heard by the entire Senate and voted unanimously, through. And now it's stuck in the Assembly. So where it's at right now is in the Assembly Environment and Solid Waste Committee. So this committee is chaired by Assemblyman Jim Kennedy. And if anyone wants to take an action to help this bill along, they can actually contact Assemblyman Kennedy and ask him to post this bill in his next committee meeting hearing.
Yo, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
Definitely
it would.
a way to get involved for sure. Hear that, everyone? Go contact him. Can you actually what is, do you know his, or they could probably like look it up or anything?
His email address, his phone number, what do you want?
I go with his email because I don't think he wants his personal phone number out there.
Oh no, I was thinking about his office phone number, but
Oh well, yeah, that works too. Yeah.
So
especially if you're against plastic use, this would be perfect for people to get involved, especially on a smaller scale.
So his email is asmkennedy@njleg.org. So asmkennedy@njleg.org. You could just send him a really short email and say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I live in whatever county of New Jersey. I'm contacting you because I would really like you to post bill number A4676 for your next committee meeting. And that's it. If you wanted to spice it up and say why you think it's important, that's awesome. But the sheer volume of people contacting him it speaks.
Yeah, definitely the more popular the subject is, the more weight you can carry.
That's right. The more annoying you could be, the better.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's really how things definitely get done in the local government and even in the state government. Federal
I mean,
government.
yes, there's definitely different ways to adapt your strategy for advocacy.
Right.
But contacting your legislator, some people don't realize how much power it holds, but it really does, right? There is a staffer checking every legislator's emails, and every single time someone contacts him for this post-consumer recycled content bill, they're making a mark, right, in his book and saying, hey, just so you know, today 10 people emailed you about this bill. And that's how you grab their attention.
No, I'm actually really glad that you pointed that out, because I've been always really stressing the fact that, you can make a change through numbers. Granted, you want to definitely, the approach through what you want to change or make the change about definitely should be, carried out responsibly, but also, like, you could, go through it via email or going to the actual local office and speaking your mind, and it's really not that hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put a little elbow grease into it, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I've been always preaching in my podcast, is how us, the people, have a lot more power than we think.
Awesome. That's awesome. And it's so true.
Right? So, yeah. So, what's called? So that's the recycling ban, the plastic ban, and then what is the last one we could talk about?
Yeah. So actually, you just hit the nail on the head. The plastic ban. A couple of months ago, Governor Murphy signed a bill which would ban single-use plastics. And it, sometimes it takes a couple months for a bill to go into effect because the state itself needs to make the necessary steps in order to make sure that the bill is rolled out properly. So in 6 months from yesterday, this bill is going to be in effect in New Jersey. So you're going to go to the grocery store and there are not going to be single-use plastic bags readily available for you anymore. People are going to be bringing their reusable grocery bags. But, of course, there's some exceptions. For example, raw meat can be with that plastic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The
over top of it, right?
Yeah.
I believe that there are some exceptions for various fruits and veggies that might be individually packaged, but for the most part, we're going to see a huge reduction in single-use plastics. It's also banning styrofoam in a large number of cases. So, for example, when you go to a restaurant and you're taking your food to go, they're not going to give you those styrofoam clamshells anymore. They're going to have to look for sustainable alternatives. And the last really cool thing that the single-use plastic ban does is it creates now the rule where you have to ask for a straw when you get a beverage at a restaurant. So instead of the default being that the waiter, puts a bunch of straws on your table, now they're only available on demand. So let's say that you have a disability where you need a straw, or, let's say you're a person that really just wants a straw. You'll have to ask the waiter, excuse me, can I please have a straw? And they'll give you one. But this is just a way to make it so that the default is not, let's just give everyone a straw, when not everyone needs one.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of straws, everyone that has ever watched my show, I've already pretty much emphasized my perspective, my, I guess, psychology on why I never understood the use of straws. But I would also like to know your perspective, if you have one, on why you just don't want to use straws.
Well, actually, I love straws.
Oh, you do? Okay. If you do,
I do, but I have I have a metal straw that I use at home, and I've never really been in a position where I needed a straw out at restaurants or whatever. But at home, when I'm drinking my smoothies, when I'm having a dark liquid beverage, not to get teeth stains, I'll have my straw, all of that stuff. But I don't use the plastic straws. I actually use one metal straw that I wash and continue to reuse.
Oh, that's very cool. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Save the sea turtles, right? I've seen enough pictures of
Yeah.
straws stuck up their noses to never want to touch a plastic straw.
Oh yeah, that one viral video of the one guy pulling a straw out of the sea turtle's nose. That was a little heartbreaking. I must say that had to be painful.
Yeah.
What's it called? Actually, that reminds me. There's not a paid advertisement or anything. I just personally like them, and I'm actually going to be buying more straws from them soon. Is a small business called Reef Straws. They're just like the metal ones that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I got a couple in my kitchen from them, and they're actually really cool. They're like multicolored and stuff like that. And definitely check them out. I'll have them in the description. But no, that's really awesome. So like soon the state is going to ban all plastic use. Well, for the
For
most
the
part.
most part,
Yeah, for the most
single-use
part.
plastics. Single-use plastics, it's going to into effect in 6 months, but the straw ban goes into effect now. Like it started, I think last week.
Oh, sweet. All right.
So now when you
Very
go to
cool.
a restaurant, you should be in a position where you're not offered a straw unless you ask for it.
Right. No, that's awesome. That makes me feel a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
That just makes me happy because I always have a habit of like taking them out and just throwing them down, which also kind of really doesn't help either if I really think about it. But I only do that just because I just don't see the need for a straw, in my personal opinion. But no, that's awesome. I'm very happy that the state is actually finally taking steps to become more eco-friendly, more environmentally conscious. So woohoo!
That's right. You know, a lot of people can knock Governor Murphy for various reasons, but one thing that I will give to him is that he's done a lot for the environment. You know, of course, more can be done, but while in office, he's done quite a bit for the environment, including this plastics ban legislation signing. He's got this great electric vehicle initiative that's underway right now. So, you know, he's doing quite a bit for the environment, among bills for like environmental justice and, you know, really important topics.
No, that's really good. That's awesome. Hold on a second. All right. We are actually going to go into a short break, and then we'll come back to dive down deeper into the awesome conversation that is with Sarah Mack. All right, guys, hold on one second. And we are back with the drink sustainability. And we have, like always, on the show, the beautiful and legendary Sarah Mack.
Thank you very much.
So, real quick, cheers again to having you on the show and to the environment.
Cheers.
Yes. How's your drink treating you over there?
It's delicious. I love this. I love this Victory Brotherly Love. It's real good choice.
Awesome. I'm happy you like it. All right, cool. All right. So let's dive into well, we talked about the single-use plastic ban and getting the DP newsletter subscription. Well, that part was behind the scenes, but I want to start talking to you about the becoming part of the land use board and the environmental committee, because I think that is awesome. So
Yeah, it is pretty sweet.
please tell me more.
Okay.
Like when did you start?
When did I start? Well, for the Environmental Commission, I started about 2 years ago. Basically what happened was I noticed that we were cutting down a bunch of trees in Roselle Park, and we weren't really planting too many. So like the ratio of trees getting cut down to trees planting was quite pitiful, and I really didn't want this to happen. So I approached the mayor. I said, hey, I'd really like to see this changed. I also noticed that we have a lot of a certain species of tree and we really don't have too much variety here. What can we do? And the mayor basically told me, oh, well, you should join the Environmental Commission. They have a shade tree subcommittee. You'd be a really great asset for them, blah, blah, blah. So I joined the Environmental Commission, and I ended up getting involved as eventually as the secretary. So I get to like organize the meetings. I get to communicate between the different commission members and the community, and between the commission members, community, and the government staff, like the mayor and the guy who oversees the budget and the administrator and all those good people.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And we do various projects. Like we have a community garden. And during COVID, we were very hesitant to be renting out garden beds to the community. So we decided that as a commission, we were going to farm out the garden ourselves, and we were going to donate all of the food that we grew to the population who is on SNAP. The people who get food stamps here in Roselle Park. So we coordinated with the Casano Center, which is like the family center, and also a church who has a food bank. And we set up various times when we would do garden giveaways, and we would have people from the community come with their bags in their hands, and they'd come to the garden and they'd get all fresh fruits and vegetables. They learn about where their food comes from. They'd get fresh food. It was a really great experience. Cool. Yeah, it was. It was awesome. And had COVID not happened, we wouldn't have, got this experience. I'm not saying that COVID's great. I'm just saying that
Thank you, COVID. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
There are some
totally wrong.
silver linings.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Good for you guys. That's really cool. There's that actually reminds me of I saw a post on Instagram, and don't quote me on where it is because I totally forget. I want to say it's in like Chicago or something like that, because the way the post was, it looked like in a city area, but it was a small group of people pretty much had these giant they almost looked like garbage bags, but they weren't. And they had just all kinds of produce and fruits and vegetables and stuff. And they hung them on the fence, like almost, I don't know, maybe like 500 feet long, just like that whole span. And it literally just like the caption said, like, all right, so instead of a food bank, just if there's any homeless people around, they could just come over and grab whatever they want. So at least they don't go hungry, which is really cool. It touched my heart a little bit, to be honest with you. It was a very nice gesture of kindness and, caring for others, Yeah,
so. In the garden, you grow more than food, right? Like you can grow community.
Yeah. Yeah, you really can. I mean, there's some of my friends that I know, like they're either working on or currently have their own garden themselves, and they spread the love to some of their friends and obviously to their family, and it's awesome. You don't have to worry about like preservatives or anything really like that, so it's nice, fresh.
That's right, and it tastes better most of the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it definitely does, which is awesome. So sorry, back to the whole land use board. So what kind of things are you currently working on right now?
This is,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Can you name, like, since you've been there, if there has been any victories that you guys have, accomplished, mention one of those and then go into what you're currently doing.
Well, this is one of those topics that I can't technically talk too much about.
Okay.
Because of the various like legalities in it, but I can
Okay.
give you some like umbrella information.
Okay, that's fine.
So recently, there was an applicant who wanted to build some apartment buildings.
Okay.
And it was a small, like little apartment building. And they wanted to do like new landscaping around the area. They proposed that they were going to cut down about 5 trees, one of the trees being a really large oak tree. And they were going to plant like 2 trees. And I saw this and I was like, whoa, no.
Hold on.
Exactly. We can't do this. You know, right here in Roselle Park, the mayor has declared that there's a 2-to-1 ratio where if you cut down 1 tree, you plant 2. But honestly, the DEP and other forestry organizations recommend a much higher ratio because, you know, depending on the caliper of the tree, you really are losing a lot of environmental benefit. So anyway, I saw that they were, you know, trying to take down all these trees, only putting up 2. And I said, look, can we please save this tree, and this tree? It seems like they're not impeding on any of your area. It's literally just for aesthetics. So let's keep these. And for these ones that you are going to cut down, we need a 2-to-1 ratio. And what really gives my ask a lot of weight in the land use board, because these people aren't necessarily people who like are thinking about the environment every single day of their lives. So in the Environmental Commission, we completed an environmental resource inventory, which basically mapped out all of Roselle Park, where our trees are, where our wildlife is, what kind of trees we have, what kind of wildlife we have, areas that are more susceptible to climate change effects, like flooding, like heat islands, things like that. We have a huge issue with heat islands on Westfield Avenue and some other various streets within Roselle Park. And this was one of those areas that was very close to a heat island. So I also said, we have a heat island here. We need these shade trees, because this is a legitimate issue with climate change. And looking through that lens is definitely a little bit more incentivizing for the land use board to get behind me, and also for the client to understand, the applicant to understand that they need to adhere to this. There was another applicant very recently who is trying to create a business on Westfield Ave. And just like the applicant I just mentioned, they have a bunch of trees on their property and they want to cut every single one down. And then plant like maybe 3 trees and a couple of evergreen bushes. And this one hurt even more because it's literally on a huge heat island. They're going to be building some parking lot area, and they're proposing river rock and things like that, where that's great, I get it, but we really need to provide these important environmental changes, which are remediate heat islands. So let's not cut down these trees. Let's keep the trees we can. And for every tree we cut down, let's at least put a 2-to-1 ratio. I'm really hoping that this specific applicant does take that into consideration, because some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them really do care about their aesthetics so much that they don't put any trees. And sometimes it can get past the land use board. But by me being there as a representative of the Environmental Commission and having this environmental resource inventory, I'm really able to change the narrative and prove that having these shade trees are very important.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
Sarah,
cool.
good for you. You're becoming the change that you want to be, where you want to see.
Right. That's right. Save the world one tree at a time.
Literally, yeah. That's awesome. And I love how you said, and it's just funny because before, like, 10 years ago, everyone's just like, oh, you're a tree hugger, you're a tree hugger, whatever the case may be. But if you think about it, like all these kind of green organizations, yeah, we are, because trees actually provide us with air to breathe.
Right.
I feel like a lot of people take that for granted, or maybe don't really think about it like that all the time, which, I mean, yeah, it's very easy to take things for granted, but I mean, yeah, it's true. You got to kind of think like a tree hugger, because we're part of the environment. The environment's not part of us. And
That's right.
Keep going.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, a lot of times we see areas that don't have a lot of trees as areas that have a pocket of like lower socioeconomic status people living there, which is kind of sad, especially considering how the lack of trees really does create an impact on them. In these areas in Roselle Park where we have heat islands, the temperature can be literally degrees higher, only a couple feet away where we have the heat islands versus where we don't. These trees really do make an impact. There was a day, I remember it, and I think I'll remember it for the rest of my life, where we were going around and we were planting trees in Roselle Park. We were planting like 50 trees in one day. And I was going around on my bicycle, like following the DPW truck who had like all the trees and stuff. I was helping them plant them and figuring out like where they should go and which ones go where, because some trees are better in different places depending on if there's telephone wires and things like that. So anyway, I was going around and we were on like the suburb type of streets. And it was hot, but it wasn't unbearably hot. And we were planting the trees. And then we go on Westfield Ave, where I said there's that heat island.
Right.
And it is so uncomfortably hot. Like I could feel a huge difference, to a point where like I'm profusely sweating. The workers are starting to feel nauseous because they're getting like dehydrated. The sun is just so intense. And all of this is literally because of the amount of trees that were in one area versus in another area.
That's crazy.
It is. Trees really do matter. And it's not only for remediating heat islands, but it's also for flooding. Trees do an amazing job at retaining water and helping to like reduce the impacts of flooding.
Yeah, I mean, they probably want to use all that water to, like you said, store and make photosynthesis and all that stuff so we can breathe and they can breathe. So, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. That's crazy though. I'm sure, I'm hoping that opens people's eyes to that and really encourages them to get involved.
Yeah, one step at a time. I think over my time working with the land use board, various members have kind of opened their eyes to the importance of trees, of different things that are important about sustainability within a municipality, like permeable surfaces versus impermeable surfaces, like native species versus invasive species versus just non-native species.
Right.
All of that stuff is really important. And I think for a lot of years, the land use board hasn't really even thought about it. So they haven't talked about it or prioritized it. But now that I'm there and I'm consistently speaking out, I think that I've kind of opened the minds of a couple of the different members to the idea of how important it is to really think about the environment.
That is awesome. Let's go, Sarah. Let's go. Cheers to you for that. That's awesome. Making an impact in your town.
Woohoo.
Let's go. Well, I applaud you my hat goes off to you. You're doing awesome. Keep it up. Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work. What's it called? So that's part of the land use board. How about let's go dive a little bit into the environmental commission. I mean, do those all? I mean, they probably go hand in hand though, right? Or they like kind of work together, and that's pretty much what you said.
They do go hand in hand. The environmental commission is different from the land use board, but my
Right.
role on the land use board is very much related to the environmental commission.
Right.
Yeah, but in the environmental commission, we have a couple of different projects that we have going on, like the community garden that I talked about. We also have various tree planting projects overseen by the shade tree subcommittee. We have one open space in Roselle Park, which is a really small block of land. It's on Jerome Street. And we're actually in the midst of developing a plan on how we're going to use that open space. Right now, it's just like a lot of land. We want to, or we're thinking about putting in a couple of different ideas for different gardens, like perennial gardens, or maybe a pollinator garden, or something that can bring education to the community, serve as a space
Right.
where people can get together and share meals and learn and enjoy the environment and all that good stuff.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I hope that comes to fruition too. That'd be pretty cool.
Yes. Over the time, there's been a lot of question as to what that property is going to become. It almost got bought out by a couple of different people and organizations, but for one reason or not, it always ends up falling through. So we're hoping that with our idea that we're pitching to the mayor, that it actually can happen and we can preserve this space.
Woohoo! Let's do it. Let's go. Sarah, you are doing awesome work. Like, keep it up.
Thank you.
Seriously. You are literally an example of how you can literally be the change that you want to see in an environmental space. So awesome.
Yeah, and, it doesn't have to be like huge changes either. Each little thing leads to another. And I really feel good being able to save one tree, save two trees, whatever, be part of the conversation to teach people about the importance of the environment and all of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I want to actually touch up on that part real quick. So like, when you say you want to do your part, like why do you feel being part of an environmental activism and doing your part right now, like why? Actually, you kind of already answered that, really. Never mind. As I'm about to ask you, you kind of already mentioned why. So never mind, you already answered it. But what's called? Actually, I did have another question for you, but I have to remember it now. Hold on 1 second. I have a question really quick. So you're I kind of think of you right now, like with your position and everything, like kind of like the bridge between the common person and obviously like your local government, really communicating both sides so that things can actually go into effect and the execution can, go into effect. So like what, so why do you think being able to talk to people about, the land use and how that impacts our environment and everything. How do you think that really can impact and improve the education of, the general public around you?
Yeah, I
No, it's kind of like a heavy question.
it is. And
Sorry.
I think that you stated it really eloquently, how I am kind of the bridge between the general public and the government. But on the other hand, I am also part of the general public. So I really understand where people are coming from. And, my goal in life is to help people, and I really love to do that on an individual basis. So being where I am right now really allows me to do that. And I see the future of New Jersey, the United States, the world, going in a positive direction. There's a lot of times, especially thinking about environmental issues, where you could just get in your head thinking about, wow, we're doomed. There's nothing I can do to make this better. I've definitely been there, but, generally, I really do believe that we are every day improving. Of course, it's not as fast as we all want, but we are going in the net positive direction. So with that, I think, in 10 years and 20 years, we're going to see big differences, big changes in the way that we approach the environment. We have a relationship with the environment, all of that stuff. But, one step at a time, one person at a time.
Heck yeah, let's go. I like it. I love it, Sarah. I love it so much. I know you probably have still a busy schedule. I want to actually know if you have a little, like, about another 30 minutes. If not, we could cut it now and we could schedule something else.
Yeah, so I don't have 30, but I can give you 10. I think we could do it in 10.
I think we could actually do the last part in 10 minutes for sure.
Sweet.
I have a little segment right here, but I feel like we could probably talk for hours on that one. So I'm gonna go with this shorter one, and then we could call it a night. So with that being said, Sarah, what does sustainability mean to you?
Wow, what a question. Honestly, like, sustainability is life, right? Like, our end goal should be sustainability. We should be thinking in our minds about everything we do. Is this sustainable? And I'm not just talking about like sustainability in the mindset of the environment, but I'm thinking about sustainability generally. So habits, goals, projects, all of that stuff, think of in the realms of sustainability, and I think you can become a better person. But sustainability in terms of the environment, at least, that involves self-auditing and realizing what kinds of your habits are leading to the detriment of the environment, which ones are leading towards net positive, et cetera, et cetera. We all do the best we can. And it's really important to do that with an educated mindset. So, wherever there's an opportunity to learn about how to become more sustainable, take it. Recently I really got into gardening. I'd always loved growing plants and having a little garden, but about 2 years ago, I started creating my own backyard garden. And this is kind of where I get at least 20% of my meals, sometimes more, depending on, what's growing and all of that. But that's an amazing way to teach myself about how things grow, about, connecting with my environment, about finding out about food in general, like nutrition and all of that stuff. But it's also great for the environment. you're cutting down on transportation costs, you're cutting down on fertilizer use, you're cutting down on pesticide use, you're cutting down on like so many different harms that come from buying your vegetables from the grocery store that were shipped from who knows where, USA or internationally.
Right. Yeah, I agree, and good for you for doing that. Your own gardening, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love
I
getting
applaud
my
you.
hands in the dirt.
Well, some people are, you know, not always about that, but good for you. That's awesome. And my final question, which I mean, I feel like you've already majority of it you've answered, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. What do you do to become a more sustainable human being, or long lasting, if you will?
Sure. So, I'm definitely very sustainability minded in like shopping. So I try to get most of my stuff. Well, first of all, I don't try to get a lot of stuff, right? I think that we're very enveloped in this mindset of consumerism where we have to buy, 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 buy. But a lot of times you can fix, you can find secondhand, donated, borrowed, things like that. And when you really need to, is there a place that you can buy it from that is not, made in China? Not
Right.
only that, but food wise, I grow my own food, and when I don't have something that I've grown myself, I like to go to my farmer market on Wednesdays. And then when I can't find something in my garden or at the farmer's market, I'll go to my local grocery store and make sure to like read the food labels and all of that stuff to just make sure I'm not buying any of those like hot button things that we know are leading to environmental detriment, like palm oil, and stuff like that.
That's very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that story with us. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah,
And
you got it, dude. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm girl, you don't even know. No, I'm so stoked that you were able to be on the show. And yeah, we'll definitely have to do another one, at a later date. But until then, cheers to you once more. You're awesome, and keep on doing your thing up in
Thank
Roselle
you.
Park. And you were an inspiration for a lot of my viewers, and even for me too. So thank you.
Oh, that means so much.
I'm serious. You are really an inspiration. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And your work does not go unheard. So this is going to be going out to the whole world to tell them what Sarah Mack is doing. And,
Awesome.
Also really quick, before we call this quits, for everyone that does want to, like, if they're in your area or relatively in your area and want to like maybe get a couple tips and tricks or get involved with you, how will they go about getting involved with you?
Yeah, so I will give you my email, and you can put it in the description, and anyone who has any questions or they want to get more involved or whatever, they could just send me an email.
All right, awesome. Yeah, definitely send me that, and then once this is up, that'll all be up. So awesome, guys. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank
Everyone,
you again.
have an awesome night/day whenever you're watching this show. And always remember, be the solution, not the pollution. All right, everyone. Take care. What's up?
I love that. Be the solution, not the pollution.
Duh. It's like an amazing line.
There you go.
But, all right, well, Sarah, you have an awesome night. I hope you get all your stuff done that you want to get done, and stay hydrated, and be well.
Thank you. Talk to you later, Ted.
Later, Gator.
Bye.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching The Drink Sustainability. Warning: as you watch the show, be sure to clink at your own risk. Drinks may not appear the way that they seem.